In the next 2 lectures, we try to find the best and the worst movies in terms of budget, revenue, profit, ratings, and some more criteria. And we try to present our results in a nicely looking format. But before we can do that, we should further process and prepare our data and create some more meaningful features like profit or return on investment. And finally, we will write a small and easy user-defined function that enhances the readability of our code. But first of all, we import HTML from mypython.display. And this will enable us to present our data in a high-quality website-like format. So we will see this in a couple of minutes. And next, we create a subset of df with the most important columns for our task now. So poster path, title, and the budget, revenue, vote count, and so on. And we create a copy, so a separated object. And we save that object, that data frame, in df best. And next, we create 2 additional features, the absolute profit in million US$, which is simply the revenue minus the budget, and also the return on investment, which is the revenue divided by the budget. So a value of 1 means here that the revenue is equal to the budget, so there's 0 profit. And a value less than 1 means that the revenue is smaller than the budget. So actually the production company suffered a loss with that movie. So let's have a look here. And on the right-hand side, we have the 2 additional columns, profit and return. Next, we change the column labels for data presentation purposes. So we don't want to have a poster path, and actually we can simply pass here an empty space. Then we have title, budget, revenue, and also average rating with a white space here. So that's definitely not the best solution if we further analyze and manipulate our data frame, but for data presentation purposes, this is okay. So let's rename the labels. And actually we set the title column as the index. So let's have a look here. And now let's focus on the column poster path, and here we have actually HTML code. So let's select the very first element here. So this is HTML code, and it includes an URL, and we can simply copy that and paste into our browser. And here we get, for instance, the poster or the image for the very first Toy Story movie. And of course, instead of having the HTML code here, it would be much nicer if we have the images or the posters here in our data frame. And we can actually do that. And first of all, let's create a small subset of our data frame df best. So this is just for demonstration purposes. So we have here a small data frame with 5 rows and 2 columns. And actually, we can convert our data frame into HTML with the method toHTML. So let's have a look here. This is HTML code. And in a very next step, we can convert this back into a nicely looking website format with HTML. So let's have a look here inside. And it says that HTML creates a display object given the raw data. So let's simply run the cell here. And instead of having here the HTML code, now we have the posters or the images for the movies. All right, now let's go on. And actually our task is to sort the df best data frame by criteria like average rating, for instance, to get the highest rated movie. And now let's try to do this. So let's get the highest rated movie. So this is the naive approach, and I will tell you in 1 minute why this is pretty naive. We have here the highest rated movies with an average rating of 10. However, there's one problem. These are movies where we only have 1 vote. And obviously this is not really meaningful. And therefore we should add an additional functionality and an additional filter. So we should be able to filter the movies by the number of votes and only get movies where we have at least 10 votes or 20 votes or whatever. And actually the same problem applies for the return on investment. So if we sort all movies by the return from high to low, then we get movies with a very high return. And the reason is that the budget is very close to zero for that movies. So this doesn't really make sense. And we should be able to filter for movies that have a budget of at least, let's say, 5 or 10 million. So this is the intuition here. And therefore, we should first start with a filter. So first of all, we filter all movies and only get those movies with a budget of equal or greater than 5 million. And in a second step, we sort by the return. And here we get completely different results and actually more meaningful results. So the most profitable movie here is E.T. So as a summary, before we sort our data frame by some criteria, we should add 2 filters for the budget and also for the number of votes. And whenever we perform a filter, we should make sure that we do not have missing values in those columns. And therefore, it definitely makes sense to fill missing values in the budget and the votes column with the value 0. So let's do this here. And let's reinspect. So now we have 0 missing values in the budget and in the votes column. And now finally, we are best prepared to create a small user-defined function that helps us to find the best and the worst movies. So we create the best worst. And here we should be able to find the best or the worst n movies by a specific column or criteria. And we have the choice between ascending or descending order. So ascending equals false means that we have an order from high to low. So typically the best movies or the highest rated movies. And then we have 2 additional parameters, minimum budget and minimum votes. And the default values are 0, but we can increase those values. And let's have a look here at the function body. So we take df best, and then we filter for the minimum budget and the minimum votes. So again, the default values are 0. And then we only select the poster path and the column that we are actually interested in. So for instance, the revenue or the profit. And finally, we sort the data frames by the criteria in an ascending or descending order, depending on our choice here. And finally, we get the best or the worst n movies. And we create a copy here. And this is df2. And finally, we display df2 in an HTML format. So that's the function best worst. And I think it's best to see this function live in action. And that's exactly what we will do in the next lecture. So let's define the function, and we will see us in the next video. Bye.